Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to, this is one podcast in the series of 6 that I'm releasing on the launch of this new podcast, The Real Life Sports Show. I am so excited to have this young man on my podcast today. I think I asked him about 6 months ago to be on my podcast, and that was before this new podcast was evolved or had evolved. But here he is today, the one and only Billy Schwer. Did I say your surname correctly?
Schwer, you got it perfectly right.
Welcome, Billy.
You got to stop evolving. You got to stop changing them. What podcast is next? What's happening?
No, this is it now.
This is done.
It's done now.
And what is this one? The Real Life.
The Real Life Sports Show.
Real life. I am real.
Yeah.
I have a life.
Yeah. And your sports, the background of sports.
I've kind of done a bit of sport, yeah.
You kind of, yeah, which we're going to talk about. Sports is, I'm a massive sports fan. I'm lucky enough to coach some very top athletes and sports people. And I thought, what do I want to talk about? I love podcasting, but let me just talk about sports stuff because that's what floats my boat. And hence now have you here, Billy. So go ahead.
I was going to say, so is this specifically for sports people?
Coaches, trainers, I guess. Yeah, anyone in the sports media even, actually.
The sport arena.
Yeah, the arena, that's a better word, because it's like we all see the glory, right? You know,
yeah.
And even if you're a sports presenter, I spoke to Beth Fisher, she works for ITV, and you can look and think that's all glamorous, but what goes on behind all of that glamour? So that's what it's about.
The pain, the suffering, the blood, the sweat, the tears.
We love all a bit of reality TV, don't we, and stuff like that. Yeah. What goes on behind, right? We want the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
So, anyway, who is Billy Schwer? Why don't you introduce yourself and who Billy Schwer is?
So I'm a former British, Commonwealth, European and World Boxing Champion. There we go.
Oh, amazing. Wait, I need to take a live picture while you've got that up. That looks amazing. Which belt is that?
That's the IBO World Championship belt.
Wow. Yeah, because obviously people listening can't see that.
That's the IBO. But what we're going to talk about today, right? So this belt is a metaphor for people's lives.
Right.
So I become a champion of the world, and it was a long and arduous journey, but I got to achieve my dream, right? Dreams do come true.
Yeah.
If you're willing to give something up, sacrifice some things, go through the pain, suffering, whatever you got to do to get there, because you'll hear my story anyway. But this is a metaphor for everyone's life, because it's about my world is all about supporting, empowering, and inspiring people to become the champion of their worlds.
Yeah, I love that.
Whatever that looks like. Now you're talking about a sporting arena, coaching athletes or sports people, so then supporting them to becoming world class. But also let's look at being world class for ourselves.
Yeah.
If you're a trainer, if you're a coach, or whoever you are, I believe that if you're operating at a certain level and your integrity is present for yourself, then you're going to be operating at, that's going to raise your game.
Yeah.
So we're looking to raise our people that we're working with, their games, but let's lift ourselves up also.
Absolutely. I love that message. Absolutely love that message. I mean, I followed you on LinkedIn for a long time, and I love your energy and your passion for life and for helping other men. It's incredible. But before we get to that good stuff, I mean, that belt is incredible, by the way. That IBO belt is phenomenal. What does that mean to you, having that belt? Because just seeing it, I get excited.
That belt's been all around the world with me. So when I'm taking that through, when we could, the security at airports, it gets all sorts of eyes gets raised. But what that enables me, what that means to me, it's really about what I'm capable of and what's possible for anyone. I'm just a normal kid from Luton Town in Bedfordshire in the UK, and I won the British, the Commonwealth, the European. I've been top of the bill in Las Vegas. I've traveled all around the world. I've had an extraordinary professional boxing career. Yeah. So that belt is it symbolizes my success, and it's a symbol for other people really as well. Because if I could do that, then surely anything's possible.
Mm.
It's going to take something.
For sure. And that's what I want to talk to you about, what it takes, the mindset, the grit and determination. So let's start, like, how did you get involved in boxing first? How old were you?
So I started boxing when I was 8.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But how it all come around which is a really interesting story, because I'm so fascinated by what drives people, why we do what we do, how we end up the way we end up, the relationships we have, the life we have, the bodies we have, all of that stuff. And especially the jobs that we do. Because I was fascinated, because I used to step into the ring as a professional boxer prepared to die. That's how committed I was.
Wow.
It's like, which is really extreme. Like, you know, that killer instinct that some people possess and some maybe don't, but we all possess it to a degree. But it's like, how many of us really live by that and can turn that on when needed?
And I'm interested to do that journey with you, like from this 8-year-old kid to then getting in the ring and having that, prepared to give it everything, you know. So what happened to him being 8 and starting boxing to then being in the ring and having that desire?
It started earlier than when I was 8. It started when I was 5.
Wow.
So there I am, 5 years of age, in my mum and dad's front room with my 2 older sisters, Mandy and Lisa. Lisa's 8 and Mandy is 11. And we're rolling around the floor and they're beating me up again. What they used to do, you know, kids, right? Kids being kids, 2 against 1. What do you do? You get into the floor, don't you?
Yeah.
We've all done it. So someone sits on your chest, the other's got my arms pinned back, and I'm kicking and screaming and fighting. No, I couldn't fight them off. So I used to get so upset, I would hyperventilate and turn blue. I thought I was going to die because I couldn't breathe. I was like, oh. And then what they used to do, they both had beautiful long blonde hair. As I'm pinned to the floor, they used to wave their hair in my face, right? And they used to sing to me, Billy, don't be a hero, don't be a fool with your life. Do you remember that song?
Yeah, I do.
You're old enough, aren't you? You're old enough.
I'm old enough.
That song by Paper Lace called Billy, Don't Be a Hero. So what did I spend my whole life trying to be as a hero? So in that moment, I made the decision. I decided that no one was ever going to beat me, dominate me, hurt me, or get on top of me ever again, especially women. Ask my ex-wife, she'll tell you.
Yeah, we'll maybe come to that.
So in that moment also, I made an unconscious decision that I was weak.
Right.
Couldn't fight my sisters off, so I decided I was weak.
Mm.
So that decision then went into my future. So I had to find a way to prove, cover up and survive being weak. I didn't want anyone to know. That's why. So at 8 years of age, my dad was a boxer. So I used to see in the loft, right? In the loft, we'd have the old black and white boxing pictures. They were horsehair boxing gloves back in the day from the 60s. And I used to see them there and his old boxing boots with the leather soles. I used to see that they were kind of there, but I wasn't really consciously aware of it. But the story is that I asked my dad to take me down to the gym when I was 8 years of age, because obviously unconsciously I was looking for something.
Yeah.
Then that was my access to prove that I wasn't weak. But then also what happened for me was when I was 11 years of age, I started boxing when I was 8, had my first contest when I was 11.
Wow.
And then it was on my 3rd amateur boxing fight. So this is 40 years ago. And it was back in the day when the events were big black tie dinners, gentlemen's evenings. They're all sitting there in their dicky bows, smoking cigars. It's one of those things.
I remember them.
I boxed for 3 rounds. I'm boxing a guy called Jason Meager, who's a mate of mine. And I lose on points. Right. And I'm in the ring. I'm absolutely devastated. Crying my eyes out. I'm in floods of tears. My dad's trying to console me. I'm in bits. I make another decision that I'm not good enough. So from 11 years of age, my story is that I'm not good enough and I'm weak. So that was such a driver for me to prove that I wasn't, because we've all got an opinion of ourselves, each and every one of us. We've all got that. But the point is it true? Is your opinion of yourself, does it inspire, uplift and empower you? Where is it? Because it's maybe not the truth. Because what happened to me was I made those decisions. And then I decided to become a certain way to prove and cover up and survive being weak and I'm not good enough. So I become very courageous, very persistent, very tough. So that's my winning combination.
Yeah.
That's what had me become a world-class athlete. But also at the same time, what that instilled in me, those attributes that are very nice and ones you'd be proud of, discipline, all dedicated, all of those lovely ones. But what came with that are the ones that you kind of wouldn't really like to mention.
Yeah.
They are aggressive, domineering, selfish, inconsiderate, always right, rah, rah, rah. So they came with them.
Yeah.
So that served me really well as a boxer, but didn't serve me well in life.
No.
Ask my ex-wife; she'll tell you. But so that served Billy the Boxer. So Billy the Boxer got created from a kid of 5, 11. So those decisions that I made about myself really shaped me. Yeah. And they enabled me to, but so much so as a professional boxer to really, I was so committed to that. And I was willing to give my life to prove that. Right. It kind of sounds insane. Yeah. But that's how my identity got created. And that's how Billy the Boxer got created from a very young age.
Wow. I've not heard anyone talk about it like that. You know, I've spoken to a lot of athletes over the last couple of months, and yeah, I've not heard anyone speak about it like that. That you know, at 5 years old and 11 years old, you know, yeah. Moments.
So what have I had to do, Sam, for my own personal sanity, is I've had to go and really discover how I got created. Because Billy the Boxer served Billy, as I mentioned, but it didn't serve Billy when I retired as a 31-year-old man.
That's really interesting, though, and sorry to cut in there, because how did that serve you? You know, Billy the Boxer, great, because, you know, like I said, I talk to lots of sports people. You know, their identity as a sports personality or professional or elite athlete, that's one thing, and it's big, and people put you on a pedestal, and you might have to be a certain way in order to be the best. But how does that serve you in your life, Day? And how did that serve you?
It didn't. It served Billy the Boxer in that arena. Everything that I had served Billy the Boxer. Yeah. That's what had me become world class. But it didn't. So it didn't serve Billy. Yeah. But I was blinded to who I was when I was Billy the Boxer. I was just going through my life, because the only outcome that I was looking to achieve was winning the world title. I was so attached to getting there, I sacrificed everything. I ruined loads of relationships. Nothing was going to get in my way. Nothing, nobody, nothing was going to get in my way for me to achieve that.
When was the decision made that world champion was what you wanted to be, and how long did it take you to get there?
So I recently reconnected with an old school friend of mine, and we went to junior school together, and I was around about 11 and he was 8. He was a little bit younger than me. And back in the day, he was really good at body popping, break dance. So I used to do break dancing. You know, we used to get the old final mat out. Yeah. So he was really good at that. And I was boxing. So we had a deal. So I said, you teach me how to body pop and I'll teach you how to fight. And then I whacked him. I give him a whack and he went, oh. And he reminded me recently that I said I was going to be a world champion when I was around I must have been 10 or 11.
Really?
So yeah, so that was kind of created around that time. So then I had my first contest when I was 11, and I became the world champion 20 years later. 2 decades.
31. So you were 31 then.
31, yeah. So but my first challenge for the world championships when I was 6 years prior to that in 1995, and I eventually won it 6 years later on the 4th attempt.
Wow.
So in between that time I won the British, the Commonwealth, the European Championships. But my first attempt was back in 95, top of the bill in Las Vegas. That was my first attempt, which I failed at. I got 2 big cuts. I had 70 stitches, 70 stitches all over my face. Really? There's blood everywhere. There's a bloodbath. So they stopped the fight. So that was the journey. But yeah, 2 decades. Can you imagine? 2 decades, 20 years.
That's incredible. You know, this is what I love about sport. When I speak to, you know, Olympians or whatever, you know, people like yourself, world champions, you know, the years to get to the top of the tree. And actually, I think in business, it's not a lot different. It's the same. We see, don't we? We see this glory, but actually, we don't know the process and how long that process has been, and which is why I want to do this podcast, because I want everyone's story, right? I want to hear what, you know, what it's taken you to get there. And I'm sure every story is different, but I do think there is this thread of this period of time. It does not happen overnight. And like I say, it's the grit and the guts that goes behind it in order to get to that level, to reach the pinnacle. What do you know now that you wish you'd known then? Because obviously you said that, you know, you were Billy the boxer, and a lot of relationships didn't go well and stuff like that. Do you think, had you known then what you know now, would have had an impact on how you showed up in your life?
Sam, I would love to do it all again, but I would do it I wouldn't do any differently, but I would be very different.
Mm.
So I would be a much better fighter now, knowing what now than if I could go back.
Really?
Trust me, I wouldn't want to go back and do it again. Once was enough. No, thank you. No, I've had more cuts, bruises, broken noses than I wish to even think about.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine doing that again. That's gone, over. But I would be definitely a different kind of fighter. I would just be more mindful and more present, and just be, because I lost time. Because there's always so an attachment to the next fight. It's kind of like now, as we're a bit older, we talk about enjoying the journey, which is hard to do when you're in the thick of it as a professional athlete. It's very difficult to enjoy it because you're knackered all the time, you're injured all the time. It's just non-stop pressure. It's just pressure. So now looking back, it's all about the journey.
Do you think it would have made you a better fighter? Like, because, you know, like obviously I deal with, you know, stuff that I deal with sports people. It is about, you know, it's about trying, you know, helping them be successful in sport and in life. Because for me, the two go hand in hand. You know, if your life is shit outside, that does transfer for most people, not everyone, into your sporting life.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Sam, because it's now, so the thing for me was when I was fighting, if I could have sorted my personal life out, but I at that time, the way that I was, I couldn't see it being any other way. Right. But looking back upon, like, reflecting on it, would I have been a better fighter? I don't know, because the way that I was just gave me that element of kill or be killed fighter, which really serves in the boxing arena. So if I was maybe too mindful and too, I don't know, if that element was too much in me, would that have impacted my thought process or my thinking? I don't know. It's a great conversation because I didn't know that at that time. I had no emotional intelligence, let's call it that. I was unconscious.
Yeah.
Because my training from a kid, when I started boxing at 8, was to fight, defend, resist, confront, and attack. That's all I knew. So if there was an element of that was taken away, would I have been the fighter that I was? It's an interesting conversation. I don't know. Yeah. But it's after the fact is when the athlete finishes. That's the bit to try and catch him. Yeah. Now, if I was speaking to Billy the boxer when he just retired from boxing, I wouldn't have been ready to listen either, because I was too ego, too unconscious still, and I had to go on my journey of chaos and failing and mistakes to get to a point to realize that I need to change. Because being the same way just didn't work, but I had to go on my own personal journey, and it's going to be different for everyone.
Sure.
But that edge that I had would being a bit more. What would be the word to describe it? Not mindful, but conscious.
Mindful of that, and having that self-awareness of who you are outside of the ring or outside of the pitch, or the field, whatever. Yeah, have that awareness.
Would that have taken my killer instinct away?
Yeah.
I don't know. See, it's such an interesting conversation. So talking to fighters now,
Yeah.
it's like I have to be mindful of that also. And it's almost like you've got to let them go, do their thing to a degree, as long as they're not causing harm or any ups as much as they can, because they are a certain way. Because listen, what you got to get also, boxing is very different to other sports, but professional boxing, because professional boxing, look at other sports. You play football, you play rugby, you play golf. You don't play boxing. You step into the ring as a professional, not as an amateur, but as a professional boxer, to cause bodily damage.
Yeah.
And that is the brutal truth of it.
Do you think, because obviously it's like rugby's quite aggressive.
Very.
But you have to have discipline, and you have to have discipline with boxing, surely. And I think that's where that, your outside, your personal life and what's going on outside of the ring or off the pitch comes into play, because you lose your discipline, you're going to lose the game or the fight or whatever, right?
But it's the intention. Rugby is really tough. That's a hard game, that is. But the intention is to get the ball over the line.
Yeah.
And along the way, there's going to be a few scuffles. But the intention of boxing is very different.
Yeah.
That's all about intention.
Yeah.
So you go into the ring intended to hurt somebody. Now that's a certain kind of mindset to continuously live in that environment, that mindset unconsciously. Because I've had a friend of mine killed in the ring. I know guys that have been permanently brain damaged. Wow. It's a brutal, beautiful business. The noble art, the sweet science is beautiful. And it's also barbaric. And it's all of those things that people may complain about. They're true. They're very valid to have those views about boxing.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask you about, that, because it's controversial in some ways. There is very much divided opinion about it being a sport and being barbaric, and should we still be in this day and age chucking two people in a ring to batter 10 bells of shit out of each other? And I'm, do you know what, even in my own, like I sometimes I watch it and sometimes I can't watch it. Do you know what I mean? It's like I struggle sometimes myself.
Yeah, and I totally understand that for people. Yeah. And that's why a lot of mothers don't want to send their kids to amateur boxing classes, because they think it's the same, but it's so not. Amateur boxing is such a great thing for a kid to do. There's so many life lessons for a kid to go and participate in amateur boxing. So many life lessons, which you can get them elsewhere, but they're just different.
Yeah.
Or for a young child to go and just train, get amongst people, get coached, have the discipline, step into the ring to spar, that takes a lot of courage. Just to step into the ring and spar, get punched in the face, takes huge courage. But there's lots of lessons in there, and a lot of mothers don't want their kids to experience that because they think it's going to be something else. But we kind of get punched in the face anyway at some point with life.
Yeah.
And boxing's such a great metaphor for life.
Yeah. And
life is a fight. Yeah, it's a struggle. It ain't easy. Life's a battle. So the sooner you can get prepared for that, and boxing kind of gives you the ability to withstand the kind of bit of suffering, a bit of pain, a bit of hardship, a bit of sacrifice. It ain't a bad thing, I don't think.
But I've not been around the boxing world. But does it prepare you on the back end, for some of the, I don't want to use the word softer, but some of the more subtle things in life? Like, obviously we both now work in the coaching arena. It's about mindset, it's about understanding yourself, it's about self-awareness. Let's put it like this: when you got to the end of your career, so when did you retire?
I was 31 in 2001.
Right.
I've been retired 20 years.
Wow. And what was the decision around? What was the decision making around that? Had you come off the back of a loss? Here's
when I made that decision. I'm in the back of the ambulance and I'm on the way to hospital for the second time.
Yeah.
I've just been knocked out, lost my world title, game over.
Mm.
There I am, is in that moment, because I'd stepped up into the ring that night, as I always did, prepared to die, kill or be killed. And I'm in the back of the ambulance and I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm about to.
Right.
Because I had a friend of mine killed. I know guys, and I know I'm present to how dangerous it can be.
Yeah.
And in the back of the ambulance, in that moment, I realized that my life as I know it was over.
Mm.
That was when I made the toughest decision I've ever made, to retire from boxing.
Wow.
But also in that moment, which I never knew at the time, I made an unconscious decision. Right behind it, I decided that my life's over. What's the point? I've got no point. My life is, I'm over. My life's over.
Mm.
So I no longer had any meaning, because I was so attached to being Billy the Boxer, being a champion. Then it became my living and my business, and my world was that.
Yeah.
So then that was gone. That was kind of ripped away from. So that was ripped away from me, and it was the end. There was no choice about it. It was just done. But also, I could have come back. You know, you see fighters who come back. They make a comeback.
Mm.
Generally doesn't go very good. And I knew in my heart, because I thought about coming back all the time, but I knew in my heart there was no way I was going to be any better than I was in my last fight. How would it be?
Yeah.
But I did make a mistake, because I had that my first defense of the title too soon, because listen, reflection's a great thing, isn't it? Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But when I won the world title, I ended up in hospital, just concussion. They released me after 2 days. But me being me, reckless, greedy, mindless, a bit stupid, I organised my next fight 3 months later. And I remember training for that fight, and I got punched in the head sparring, and I thought to myself, this don't feel right.
Right.
But I didn't say anything to anybody. I kept it quiet, because I had to make it pay now. I'd won that world title. Now it's time to make it pay.
Yeah.
And that was so looking back, listen, fighters, we are our own worst enemies sometimes.
Yeah.
We need protecting from ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was.
Was there pressure on you then, though? Like, because you said, oh, you know, you've won your world title. 3 months later, you've got your next go. What, you know, you saying you had to make it pay. Did you feel pressure, or was that personal pressure?
Oh, personal.
Mm.
It was because I won it on my 4th attempt 20 years later. So let's get it on. Let's get stuck in and let's make it pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it didn't pay. Didn't pay at all.
Paid a big price. A big price.
It paid the other way.
So yeah. But hey, no one can take it away from the fact that you.
Oh man, what a journey it's been, man. And you know, the biggest battle that I've had has been since I've retired.
I was going to ask you that, because, like, you know, yeah, how it took its toll during, you know, the years that you were active. You know, how did that take its toll on you? You know, what did your days look like then when you were training, you know, for your fights, the European, the Commonwealth, the world? What was your life like, you know, day in, day out? What commitment did it take?
I lived and breathed boxing 24/7. Everything was eat, sleep, train. That was kind of it. I was continuously always looking at the next phase, the next part. I'd have little breaks every now and then, and but it was generally just that was the pathway. I was just given. I was all encompassing, all pervasive.
Yeah.
Boxer.
Yeah.
That just everything. So if you can imagine, yeah, just living 24/7 that way.
Did you not ever get to a point though? Because obviously, like, as a kid, you had these revelations as a kid, you know, where you just thought, well, you know, I've proved my point now. I'm strong. I'm not weak.
But I didn't know all the stuff that what I shared earlier. That's all been discovered after the event.
Right.
So so I'm now 20 years down the road. So I didn't know all that at the time. It's only that the journey that I've been on of self-discovery so that's how I figured that bit out. So I know. So I wanted to know how I ended up the way I ended up. Why was that?
Yeah.
Because my life, I got to a point where my life just wasn't working. So then I had, why is it not working? So then I got to a point where, oh, maybe it's you're not working.
Yeah.
That's the bit. In all areas of my life, I was looking, so what's not working then? It's not working. Nothing was working. Depression, divorce, bankruptcy, nothing's working. And there was a theme. There was a common theme running through the whole of all those events. You know what it was? Yeah, it's me.
Was there a tipping point for that? Was there another? Generally, it comes in threes, doesn't it? 3 bad things, and then we tip over the edge.
I don't know about that. I had 300 bad things. But I got to a point in my life, in the depths of despair, sick and tired of being sick and tired, rock bottom, lost everything, no money, no future, felt like a failure. I was ashamed. I was mentally breaking down. I was having suicidal thoughts. And that was the point I kind of realized I need help. I need help. But mental health wasn't openly discussed 20 years ago.
No.
It wasn't like it's all talked about now, but 20 years ago, I was trying to figure it out on my own. And I was ashamed. I didn't know how, and I tried to fight my way through it like I normally do.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. I made a complete mess of it because I couldn't ask for help because I was trying to just do it and do it the way that I was doing it and do it how Billy would do it. Billy the boxer would do it.
Yeah.
That's how I was doing my life, bulldozing my way through everything, causing chaos, upsets everywhere. That's all I knew how to be.
Yeah.
But what I'm proud of is that I actually decided to make the change, and what I did was I've broken the habit of being Billy the boxer. So I put that to one side, and I've reinvented and recreated myself, which has been the toughest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that. We both know Kelly Holmes, and she's talked about life after the gold medals.
Same, yeah.
And we both know Reese, and also loads of athletes. And there's a cricketer that I know that retired. And he's struggling, and it's that struggle when you stop, isn't it? Because you're so wrapped up in the identity of yourself as a sports person, and of course. It's a long road, isn't it? Joe, you've probably been doing it 20 years, 15, 20 years, and then it stops, and then like, who the fuck am I? Who am I?
Yeah, that's the bit, yeah. So that's the bit, yeah, who am I? Then you go, well, who am I then? Yeah. So what do you do about that? That's the internal work that I've done, and which I've been doing for the last 18 years. So the first 2 years of my retirement, worst 2 years of my life. Right. And then I started to transform myself, but my life wasn't perfect all of a sudden. No. It's taken years to get to where I am today. And today, Sam, I'm happier, more fulfilled and satisfied than I've ever been, ever. I'm 10 out of 10. My life is 10 out of 10. Yeah. That's what's available. Now I've come from having suicidal thoughts to get here. So how did you do that? Yeah. And that's the work.
It is a work. I've been, I wasn't a professional athlete, but I've had to do that work myself.
We all should. We all should go and have a look inward.
For sure, life is done. Like all of life is inside out, but sadly we tend to do it the other way around, especially to begin with. And the sooner we figure out it's an inside job, the better, and then we go to work on it. But of course, not everyone gets there, and some people take longer than others. I guess with everything now and the coaching that you're doing, and I want to talk to you about that as well because it's really inspiring. What do you think with everything now? What would be your advice to your younger self if you could look back and there's kind of like a time machine, but you stay here and your younger self is there? What would you say to that lad?
Be patient.
Be patient. Okay.
Be patient. It's all gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. Be patient. It's gonna be all right.
Do you feel like you were very impatient back then?
Yeah, I was in a hurry to get somewhere. I was fighting for my life, I suppose. To be patient. It's gonna be okay. Calm. Yeah. Pay attention.
Do you work with any boxers now in your coaching profession?
Not really. I speak to boxers, but not in the realms of their coach, so to speak. I'm open. I speak to any boxers, and I give them my my words of wisdom, because I know it all. I know what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
But it's are they ready to hear it?
Yeah, you touch on a good point there, because and that's something I say a lot with people that come to me and want help. I say wanting it is one thing, but are you ready for it? That's a completely different thing.
And are you willing?
Exactly.
It ain't pretty.
No, it's not. It's hard work. It's bloody hard work, the mind. But when you conquer it, when you take back the control,
yeah.
sweet,
So with the boxers that I speak to, it's all kind of future based.
Right.
What they're up to, supporting and inspiring and empowering that element of their lives, because they maybe, and it's not for me to start digging into their personal lives, because that might throw them off the track. And I thought it's not my responsibility to do that.
No, but I guess, I've got experience of certain sports people come in and like I say, I deal in helping people with sport and life, because for me, they cross over. Some people want to ignore that personal life and what's going on in their head and just focus on the game. And that can lead, as you know, to a very, a lot of struggle and a lot of strife and a lot of chaos. And then there's the ones that recognize that actually this isn't working here. So this isn't making this enjoyable, as in the sport. And I'm willing to do the work to make this enjoyable and be as successful as it can be.
Brilliant. So that's great, Sam. That's such great work that you're doing. If you could give the athlete an access to that, providing they take that on, because that will only benefit their performance. It's got to, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's the same in life. Business people, I work with business people. If they can get their stuff sorted in every area of their life, it's going to impact the bottom line. It's going to make more money. They're going to be more successful. It's going to everything. So it's treating the person as a whole, right?
Yeah. And yeah, that's it. It's as a whole. And not everyone's willing to look at that, but then everyone's not our clients, are they? But I come from a place of that, working on your mindset and having that mental peace of mind, helps you focus on all of the areas of your life and enjoy the journey much more. So, leading into that, tell me about your coaching, because I see you on LinkedIn doing your videos and stuff, and they're bloody brilliant. I was so looking forward to today because your energy is infectious.
Thank you.
No, it really is. So tell me how you got into the coaching and where that started and where you are now with it.
So reinventing, recreating myself took a long time. It wasn't an overnight thing. So I was working on myself, but then I was also trying to find a new career, a new future. So I was doing it externally. So I tried loads of different things to try and find a new career.
Yeah.
I was going to be a film star. I was in 3 films, did that.
Nice.
If you ever need evidence that there's a worse actor out there than Billy Jones, go and rent it. Ain't worth buying. The Mean Machine. I was in that. I did a bit of extra work in the background. So I pursued that, but just wasn't it. I was going to open a wine bar, a restaurant. I pursued that. I had to go and take some exams to get a license. I failed the exams and I thought, no, that ain't either. Yeah. I had to go be in a courier. My sister had a courier driving business. So I was doing a bit of that. But this was like 20 odd years ago, before sat nav, and I kept getting lost. I was useless. I thought about being a yoga teacher. I just wasn't bendy enough. I took up horse riding, deep sea diving. I took up golf, not at the same time, but I had to go at all of those things, and that wasn't it. I even had to go I was going to get a job in a city as a trader. So I was learning to read chart patterns, and I was doing spread betting. I did that. I found a guy who was going to give me an opportunity. I started to pursue that. And it's like, I'm a dyslexic boxer. What chance have I got of that? I even had that. I was going to go and be a boat skipper. I had this vision of driving these big yachts around the south of France and the Bahamas.
Yeah.
So I pursued that. I found somebody who he started training me, coaching me. I was going to go and get all the exams and all that. And then he took me out on his rusty old boat on the North Sea. It's raining. I'm green. I'm throwing up, and I'm thinking, this ain't it either, is it? Sam, I've even had a go at modelling.
Well, you're a good-looking man, so
I'm with a modelling agency called Uglies. So they cater for people with kind of unusual-looking faces,
flat noses and things.
But yeah, so that wasn't it either. I pursued so many different things, trying to figure it out. But all those things I tried. I'm quite proud, actually, to say, because people say don't ever quit, don't ever stop, don't ever give up, which I didn't in boxing. But in those other areas of my life, I like trying to find a new career. I pursued them, and they got to a natural point of I realized that, oh, this is not it. Let's stop that then. Let's not continue going down that path. Now, all those things that I shared with that was over a period of years.
Yeah.
I mean, years. That was over 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
It's I just got gut feeling, don't feel right. It's not it.
Yeah.
But at that time, when I was trying all those different things, I was working on myself. So the thing that I've ended up doing is what I was doing anyway. I was working on myself, but the thing that I wanted to do was right in front of my face, but I couldn't see it, as sometimes happens, right?
Yeah.
It was, I kind of, as I was dismantling Billy the boxer and discovering who Billy was, I really got present to how much that I love people, which really shocked me because I'd spent all my life bashing people up. And I love people, and I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
So then obviously it's moved on a little bit since then. And my kind of guys that I want to make a difference to are kind of 40 plus.
Yeah.
So my mission in life is the transformation of the middle-aged man.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's what I'm up to. And the results that we're getting, I do that individually, one-on-one, and I've just started doing groups.
Yeah.
So we've got a group running at the moment. Honestly, Sam, you couldn't make it up. It's just transformational.
Love it.
It's an opportunity for men only, just to have an extraordinary conversation, which most men don't have the opportunity to have that. So I provide that safe space, and I'm with them right the way through it. It's like a training camp. It's the 12-round Billy Schwer experience. So 12 rounds, goes over 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm in your corner, fighting alongside you, with you, and for you for 12 solid weeks. Yeah. So I've chosen that length of time. Obviously 12 is a good number for me, but it's not 2 or 3 weeks. You got, and I've had people who can't stick it. They've thrown the towel in.
Really?
They haven't got to the end of it because it's tough.
Yeah.
It ain't for everyone.
No, absolutely not. You've got to be willing to do the work, like I say, and
that's it.
Same with some of my clients. It's not easy doing that inner game stuff. It really isn't. It's probably the toughest stuff you'll ever do. Yeah,
and some people will avoid it. They'll challenge you, and it's just got their stuff running the show. Their identity, their ego running the show, and it's interrupting that stuff. Yeah. So especially when I'm dealing with men, some men are so egotistical, and they just resist so it's kind of pointless.
Yeah,
it's really difficult. Yeah, so they have to be willing to hold their hands up and go, okay, let me surrender. I'm going to surrender.
Yeah,
I've been there. I've been where they're at.
Yeah,
and I can see there's so much more available for them if they could just give up. Just give themselves up. Just give themselves a break.
Oh yeah, totally. I think when we let go and we be who we really are, which is a big part of what I believe in, and that was my journey, just finding out who I was and just showing up in the world as who I really was, and because it just gave me a sense of freedom that I never had before. Just
I've heard you talk about that. Give me a little short version of that. What age
Sorry?
What age was you when you went through your process?
Oh, there's been chapters, Billy. There's been a couple of chapters, and the last chapter is a couple of years ago. But I feel like, and a bit like you say now, like I love life. I absolutely love life. I love people. I really am excited about who I am, and I don't need anyone else to fulfill me or to make me feel good. I can look in the mirror and love who I am. And that's what I'm talking about for your guys that you work with.
Yeah.
Doing that work, I'm sure they're coming out the other 12 weeks of that. That I don't think I can describe it well enough, what it feels like to feel like that. Somebody asked me today, I was doing some work with someone this morning, and I'm like, but what does that feel like? And it's just so freeing. It's so freeing.
So, because I totally get where you're at. And I'm with you. And it's we want everyone to have that, right?
Yes.
The way that I describe that, Sam, and it's kind of, I find it weird that I can even say it, because I say I want for nothing. I want for nothing while I'm in the pursuit of everything.
Yeah.
and everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. Nothing is everything, and everything's nothing.
Yeah.
So that allows for just a peace of mind, just that feeling that you're describing, that you're talking about. That's what I have. And it's like 10 out of 10. It's just a net. I mean, I've never felt better, ever.
Yeah. I'm so pleased. And, you know, and I know that feeling. It's a great feeling. And I, you know, like your energy is incredible. So I'm really chuffed.
And it's the same. And I acknowledge you for doing the work to get yourself where you are.
Yeah. But of course, like you say, when you have those feelings, you want other people, you want everyone to have it, right? You're like, well, you can feel like this too, you know?
Absolutely. We know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got it. So have it.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I want to talk about before you go, 2 questions really. One is, you've got a book, right?
I've got a book.
Talking about the book.
So women, please don't be offended.
We need to put a WO in the front of that.
because as I shared my story, the reason I called it Man Up is it's a little bit controversial, maybe it's not politically correct, so forgive me, please. But all the women that have read it, they love it, they get it. Yeah. And it's just a metaphor.
Yeah.
The metaphor is I was a man down, as you've heard from my story, so I had to get up.
Yeah.
So hence Man Up.
Yeah.
And that's my story, and that's my personal journey. And inside of it is I've created a success model. Don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's that's what had me become a world champion. There's a positive cycle and a negative cycle. Yeah. So the whole book's about this model, about cool. how that can apply, how you can just apply it to your life.
Yeah.
So we use that as a tool to go through our lives. We look at the negative cycle: doubt, distraction, and disappointment. The self-doubt, the getting distraction, the distractions that we choose, the distractions that we unconsciously choose. Being present to those. Disappointment, we end up in disappointment. It's getting to that positive cycle: discipline, dedication, and desire. What do you want? That's the starting point of all achievement. The first principle of success, knowing that. But a lot of us focus on what we don't want. And we don't really know what we want. A lot of people are not really clear what they want. And then we end up focusing on what we have or what we don't want, or the past. And then you just get what you think about, right? You get more of what you think about.
Yeah, if you live it, you know, if you think about the past, then your present is your past.
And you just get more of that.
Exactly.
Then people are pissed off with that. So people don't know that, and people don't necessarily know that.
Yeah.
So you got to keep it.
I love your mindset. I love your framework as well. I've heard you speak about it before, I think, on LinkedIn and stuff. And I do. Yeah, I love your model. It's really, really good. Listen, Billy. I've probably taken more of your time than I promised to take, but last question for you. What's one question I haven't asked that you wished I had asked?
Where do you want me to send the check?
Oh, Billy, thank you so much. I could probably talk to you for hours. Honestly,
Sam, I love you, man. I fucking love you. I love you. I love what you're doing. I love your energy. I love what you're about. I love what you stand for. And I want to acknowledge you also, because you're making such a difference to so many people. And let's keep the vibes high. Let's do it together, man. That's it.
Thank you so much, Billy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.